As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? It's time for another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we talk about weird and forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be remembered or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, and with me, he's known as the Marker of Tampa, Florida. It's
Yahel. How are you doing, Steve? Oh man, my video is indeed strange.
Just give me a second. I will figure that out.
It's okay. Yeah. But I'm doing well, Steve. I don't know how I feel about being in any way whatsoever compared to or related to one Richard Grieco's Marker. But
I just imagine you're at the castle and someone comes up and they hand you a pog. That's what they hand you.
Oh my god! Okay, I'm back in on this. No, they have to hand me a slammer. It can't just be like a regular pog.
Slammer, even better.
Because I gotta admit, those markers, they look pretty nice.
Yeah, all right. I don't know what happened, but yeah, your video's back. People are just listening to the audio. I'm sure they don't care, but I'm sure they'll be happy to know that we both look beautiful now on the YouTube channel.
Pristine, I would say.
It's pristine as one Richard Grieco in Hawaii.
Yeah. In fact, I would say, Steve, our video looks UPN ready. Is how I would describe our video.
Great. That's a great way to transition into what we're talking about today. And it's because I'm sure nobody else is talking about it except for you and me. And that is the show, the 90s show, Marker, starring Richard Grieco on UPN. Wow. How excited are you to be talking about Marker in 2022?
I mean, to be honest, I am kind of excited to be... I was excited to be talking about it.
Uh-oh. Foreshadowing.
No. I just wanted to make that joke.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually... I'll say this show definitely leaves a lot to be discussed.
So 100%.
I am kind of excited about it.
I'm excited just because I know literally no one else is talking about this, and I'm willing to see if anyone else cares here in 2022. And also, we're going to be discussing the channel just briefly here. So why don't we just dive into the Obscuritron, because we've got a lot of work to do today.
Yeah, we do.
Let's do it.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, there he is. There's the Marker right there. That's him, one Richard Grieco. And isn't it weird that the name of the character is also Richard?
Yeah, and did you notice that Richard Grieco was also one of the co-writers of the theme song?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
A few months ago, Stephen, and this is before we even discussed doing Marker, because I don't even think Marker was on our list of stuff to cover, but I went down some weird YouTube rabbit hole, and I ended up on Richard Grieco's music channel. He makes, we'll call it music.
No, what kind of genre is it?
It was kind of like I only listened to one song, so I mean I don't know what else he does. If he's a man of various genres. I don't know if there's a genre that can define Richard Grieco.
It's Grieco wave is what it is.
Yeah, Grieco. It was kind of like like rock, but like it was like kind of bluesy, but really slow and mellow. It's the kind of slow, mellow rock that somebody that can't really sing would do, because he can kind of mumble through it.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, it's sort of like indie adult contemporary, if that exists.
Yeah, kind of like that. And like I would describe it as, not that the guy from the Wallflowers can't sing, but the Wallflowers had a few songs where he's kind of mumbling, like that.
Right.
So it was kind of like that. And it seems like he might be able to like hit a few notes here and there, but I think he knows his limitations.
Much like with his acting ability, I would say. But for those who don't know, the UPN was like this new channel, like TV channel that appeared in the 90s. It stands for the United Paramount Network, and it was an American broadcast television network that launched January 16th, 1995. The network was originally owned by Chris Craft Industries. Never heard of it. And United Television and Viacom through its Paramount Television unit, which produced most of the network's series. Then turned the network into a joint venture in 1996 after acquiring a 50% stake in the network and subsequently purchased Chris Craft's remaining stake in 2000. Oh my God, there's just so much, espionage going on here. In December 2005, UPN was spun off to CBS Corporation when Viacom split into two separate companies. CBS Corporation and Time Warner jointly announced on January 24th, 2006 that the companies would shut down UPN and competitor the WB to launch a new joint venture network later that year. UPN ceased broadcasting on September 15th, 2006 with the WB following suit 2 days later. Select programs from both networks were moved to the new network, which we all know as the CW, which is basically part of Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Paramount Global when it launched September 18th, 2006. So when you heard about UPN launching, were you excited? What were your thoughts?
I was very excited, actually. I don't know. I'm one of those people I don't know. I like getting in on the excitement of getting in on the ground floor of something.
Yeah, same here.
That's exciting, especially when you're like a teenager, But more than anything, I was excited because the first show on UPN that was like really announced was going to be a new Star Trek show.
Yep.
Star Trek Voyager. I believe the only show on UPN to ever make it a full 7 seasons.
Right. And Marker itself, as we're going to see here in a minute, only made it to 1 season. But
13 episodes.
Right, yeah, much like yourself, I don't know, I just like trying new and exciting things. And yeah, I saw their lineup of shows, and I remember seeing a clip for Marker, and I'm like, oh, that looks fun. And then Legend and the Nowhere Man.
Nowhere Man was cool as hell. I loved Nowhere Man.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get to that one because I have no
opinions on Nowhere Man. And I can't wait to find out what my opinion is.
Right, yeah, same here. I can't wait for the internet to give my opinion to me because there's nothing I like more than going to websites and people telling me what I should think and who I should vote for. So jumping into Marker here, it premiered January 17th, 1995, as we said, 1 season, 13 episodes. What's your history with Marker?
I definitely watched a few episodes of Marker. I don't think I watched all 13 or anything like that. I know I watched this one because I did, as it went on, I was like, oh, okay, I remember this plot. I think it's actually a pretty neat concept. There's definitely some benefits about it, the way it's set up. I don't know if maybe I should wait for you to go over the description of it, but with the fact that he gets a marker every week from somebody with a different problem, it lets you do a lot of different kinds of stories.
Right.
I do like that.
It's a good premise, and yes, I remember watching a few episodes myself. I don't think I caught the pilot. I think I remember going to school and hearing some kid talk about it.
Some Grieco head on the school playground.
There was on the school playground there was a gang of kids. They were known as the Griecos, and they were like, "Hey, Honeycutt, you've been watching Marker?" And I'm like, "Marker? What's that?" And you better. We're gonna beat you up.
Why are they newsies from the 1920s, but yet Bubba Ray Dudley is also there?
You know me, man. All the voices in my head sound like that.
All of my impressions turn into Bubba at the end, too.
Right, for sure.
For those that don't know, Steve and I were trained as professional wrestlers by one Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Hughes, a.k.a. the Dudley Boys.
That's right, and soon AEW is going to be calling. You just wait. They're going to we want the Obscurity Now tag team to go up against the oh shoot, who's those guys that I like? The ones who rap.
The Acclaim.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun.
Yeah, they're great.
Yes, they are. But anyway, jumping in the synopsis here for Marker. Basically, this is a synopsis for the entire show and basically the first.
Wait a minute, Steve. I just saw like I just saw like the ad that you had up on from like a newspaper on the Obscurity Now for Marker, and next to it was an ad for a show called The Watcher, which I kind of vaguely recall, but it said like that he's like the last gigolo, or something like that, and then it said like witness the last seduction or something like that. It's gone from my screen now, so I can't see. I have to wait for it to come back up. But we have to. Cover
I don't remember that at all. But what I like best about it, and it should be popping up any minute, because there's only like a few images on like Google search for Marker. I mean, and there just wasn't very much info at all for Marker, because again, only we're talking about it here on Obscurity Now. There it is. Look. Fights, Camera, Action Tuesday. Like, gosh, that's fun. It's should be coming right up.
A beautiful girl buried money in the mob. You dig? That's the best they could come up with for Marker. At least the Watcher over here. Like, I mean, they got like two good lines here to get you interested. First, how low can a gigolo go? It kind of rhymes. It's seductive. And then witness his last seduction.
I'm already interested.
Is he getting married? Like, I don't know. What's happening? Is he getting killed?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what the retirement program is like for gigolos.
Getting out of the seduction game.
Right. But, so the Marker synopsis is as followed. Richard DeMora has been estranged from his father, a self-made man with a fortune made in the rose-growing business in Hawaii for many years. When his father dies, Richard returns home and finds he has been left an unusual legacy by his father, a set of markers. Throughout his life, whenever he encountered someone he considered to be a truly worthy person, Richard's father would give them a marker, accompanied by a promise that it could be called in at any time for any favor that was in his power to grant. Richard decides to take up the challenge, and each week a new marker is called in. And this was created and written by Stephen J. Cannell, who we've dealt with his show before. We've dealt with him before. Yeah. Do you remember the Stephen J. Cannell show that we covered?
I don't. As much as that name just rolls off the tongue, somehow it has not been stored. He's
been making shows for a long time. I think he's actually dead now. But but no, Renegade. He made Renegade.
I guess you could say he had his last seduction.
Nice. But Renegade, Rockford Files, A-Team. I mean, the list goes on and on. But
and we liked Renegade, actually.
Yes, absolutely. And you should definitely
Renegade was good stuff.
Check out the Renegade episode. Now, this was also written by Stephen J. Cannell as well. This was directed by a man by the name of Dennis Dugan. His last thing that he made was called Love Weddings and Other Disasters, which is a 2020 movie. But prior to that, at the beginning of his career, he was a big TV guy. He directed Hunter, Wise Guy, Love Boat, The Next Wave, which almost sounds like we should cover it. I remember when that was on and just thinking it looked terrible. But surprisingly, he also directed the movie Problem Child and like a bunch of Adam Sandler comedies that are also terrible. Produced by Stephen J. Cannell Productions and Paramount Television. And why don't you take us through that tasty cast?
Alrighty. And sorry for the keyboard clicking. I was doing some last minute research into one of the actors. But,
sure.
Anyways. Obviously, first up, we've got the titular, well, I guess he's not really a titular character, but Richard Grieco plays Richard DeMora, the main character / star of the show. Richard Grieco, I think most people, at least most people, not just people our age, would probably know him from 21 Jump Street. That's where he and Johnny Depp kind of got their big starts, or at least like kind of really became well known. But he's been in a bunch of stuff, and he is still working. He was in Night at the Roxbury, actually. I do remember that he plays himself in Night at the Roxbury, I believe. Nice. And like I think the guys like look up to him or something. I can't remember exactly. But
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. I mean, he's got like a certain charisma sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's a little inconsistent, but we'll get to that.
I think it varies by how much he enjoys this.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, so he's been in a bunch of stuff. He apparently was in some movie that we might need to cover called Dick Dickster in 2018.
Brilliant. Classy. Brilliant.
But yeah, moving forward, we've got there's a lot of kind of characters on this one, but I'm only going to go over the main ones on this episode. We've got Michael Harris, who's a guest star. He plays Talbot Smith, our bad guy. Not sure I would name a bad guy Talbot.
It's the lamest bad guy name I think I've ever heard, especially since there's so many other people in here who have like colorful, like pulpy names, you know, but whatever.
Yeah. So he's also working. He's got a bunch of credits, 67 credits, but nothing really where I like, nothing that he's particularly known for. A lot of one-offs.
Yeah, he was a day player. I doubt we'll ever see him again on another episode of Marker.
Yeah. Then we've got Nia Peoples, who plays the character of Lisa. I forgot her last name, and so did IMDb.
Lisa Luna.
Thank you. Look at that beautiful alliteration. One thing I liked about her IMDb page is that she wrote her own bio, and she admits it. It's the first thing that she put.
I really respect that.
Me too. She wrote, I wanted to quote it, "I've written my own bio. To be honest, it felt more sincere than pretending like I hired some journalists to do a bunch of research and come up with a non-biased presentation."
Wow.
So here it goes. And then she goes into a bio that you didn't need to tell me she wrote it. It's very obvious. It's very self-complimentary.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, she's been in a bunch of stuff. She was kind of a bit of a deal in the 90s.
I remember.
But again, there's like nothing I can really remember that she like a movie in particular that she really stood out for.
Right.
She was a recurring character in Walker, Texas Ranger. She was on The Young and the Restless for a while, and she was in Pretty Little Liars, so maybe like more younger people might know her from that. But she's still got stuff coming out. And she wrote a book about where she interviews all the men that she has, I guess, slept with in her life or had relationships with. It's a book about her and what she learned through. I assume it's her trashing these guys.
Do you think she met the Watcher and, you know, got hit? Maybe she was his last seduction.
Maybe. Oh, maybe. And I mean, in all honesty, judging for her bio, she probably was pretty even-handed about it. But who cares? Then we've got Ken Young, who plays Taki Mochidomi, or they sometimes just call him Moch.
Right, Moch.
A couple times Grieco changes it and calls him Mooch. So Richard Grieco has no idea
of what's going on. No.
Yeah. But anyways, Ken Young's been in a bunch of stuff. Again, not someone that you probably really maybe recognize from anything in particular. But yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff, including Star Wars Rebels. He was in something with Batman I can't find again. But, anyways, and then last but not least, we've got I saved the best for last, Stephen, and I forgot she was in this till I saw it come up. Gates McFadden, who of course everyone, Steve, knows her as Dr. Beverly Crusher in Star Trek. She is still working. She's got some stuff coming out in 2022. She of course, will be in season 3 of Star Trek Picard, along with the rest of the Next Gen cast.
Nice.
And that is our cast.
Are you all right? Here it comes.
Oh no! We just entered another Star Trek connection.
Yeah, but it was definitely smart of them to cast her hot off the heels of. I mean, TNG was obviously over at this point, right? Or.
Yeah, TNG ended in 1994. They aired their last episode. So yeah, it was pretty smart to cast her, especially since UPN was obviously going to be kind of like the Star Trek network.
Right. Yes, and they were. I mean, that's all anyone remembers from UPN. I would say is probably Voyager.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I did like they had a show called Sparks. That was a comedy, and it had I can't remember his name. The guy that played Uncle Phil in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
He was in it. It was actually a pretty decent show from what I remember. It was actually pretty fun.
I remember Shasta McNasty that starred, he's the crazy guy from Lethal Weapon 2 with blonde hair. It's not Gary Busey. It's his son, Jake Busey.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think
okay.
that one lasted very long either. But neither did.
Yeah, I remember Eve had a show, didn't she, on UPN? The rapper
Oh
Eve.
yeah, yeah. It was weird. Like they started out very sort of genre driven, and then kind of moved into the quote unquote urban market, which was that was their term back then, not mine. But
Yeah.
yeah, all right. So jumping into the episode here, we get the theme song. Which I'd say is pretty laid back, representative of, I guess, the beach and Hawaii, I suppose. What were your thoughts on the opening of Marker?
It's like a lullaby for adults. It's boring, it's tepid, it's timid. It's certainly not something I would use for an action oriented show.
That is exactly what I wrote. I wrote is laid back. I mean, I kind of like it as far as just relaxing to it, but it's
Exactly. It's like an adult lullaby.
too laid back for an action show for sure. But there are some beautiful shots of Hawaii. Actually, I think, yeah, during that and afterwards. All right, so we jump into the show. There's a lot of aerial shots of Hawaii. And then we open up with home movie footage, which I guess is supposed to be like Super 8, black and white, of young Richard, who's fishing with his dad. And then we get a very
Who is shooting this movie?
yeah. One of the people, Stephen J. Cannell is, I imagine.
The camera is like 50 feet away from them.
Right.
If this is supposed to be like a home Super 8 camera, how is it picking up this crisp sound so far away? Who is filming this?
Right, and
again,
you know what this the flashbacks here reminded me of, and especially this opening, and it's another show that we covered. Just take a guess.
with a flash, man, I don't remember.
VR Troopers.
Oh,
Yeah, remember he had like
Yeah,
flash.
yeah.
I don't that it was so weird that it did, but it did. So yeah, we get a very uninterested voiceover of Richard Grieco telling us
Richard Grieco is doing the voiceover like he just finished listening to the theme song.
Right,
He is,
he's-
knocking on Sleep's door.
like he just got out of some Hollywood party, probably did a lot of coke, and yeah, he's just
It's coming down from it though. He's coming
right,
down.
right. He's like, oh, what? I got to do VO. All right, where's the
He was in the Viper room with
Johnny
with,
Depp?
with Johnny
Yeah,
Depp.
yeah.
And
He's like, I gotta
Phoenix.
sell this thing. Let me introduce you to my new girlfriend, Amber Heard. We're gonna be together forever.
I think back then he would have been with Winona
Yeah,
Ryder.
it's just a
No, I know
joke, bro. Just go with it.
that. Okay, my
But
bad.
you're right.
Sorry,
I know.
man. Sorry.
I'm sorry. We have to be historically accurate. You're right. So yeah. So he tells us that his dad is dead. He didn't really know him. He said in his life in Jersey, he learned to live with the painful memories. But now he's heading back to his childhood home that he left 20 years ago, and he has to face those painful memories again. And this is intercut with him sitting on a plane, writing in a journal. And then exterior shot, day. We get, again, shots of Hawaii as the plane lands. Richard is,
What did you think about this flyover footage?
I mean, typical.
It's like pretty shaky.
I mean,
Wasn't it?
That's the best they could afford at the time, I guess. This is, 20 years before you could get a drone off of Amazon Prime?
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen like flyover
Right.
footage that doesn't look that shaky, and I will say I'll give him credit because it doesn't seem like it was stock footage.
Yeah.
It seems like it was shot new for the show. Like everything matched as far as color grading and all that stuff. So, and video quality. So
Man,
I
I
kudos.
remember in Walker how much stock footage they would use, and Nash Bridges. God, it was even as like a, I don't know, 13-year-old. I'm like, what? Like where did that come from?
Yeah. It would be like going from like a Power Rangers like scene in the diner to like the fight, and you're like, what? Why does this look so different?
Right. So Richard is greeted by Mr. Roshidomi, and I mean, I guess at first I was like, is he supposed to be a local? But I guess he just happens to be a Japanese dude who lives there and who worked with Richard's dad. And he says the funeral is starting soon.
Well, I think he's supposed to be Hawaiians.
Is he? I mean, they never.
I mean, Yeah, you're talking about Mochu,
Yeah.
whatever his, however Richard Grieco feels like pronouncing it in the current scene.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean the actor is Hawaiian.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And he talks about like Hawaiian lore a few
Right,
times.
he does. I don't know. Just the name comes off very Japanese to me. That's all. I mean, that's not to say that. I mean, who knows? Hawaii is probably a very diverse place.
No, Steve, let me give you the shovel. Please finish burying yourself.
Oh, I could do way worse than that.
No, but I agree. I thought like the name to my untrained ear, because I don't know much about the naming conventions there. It did kind of like feel like it might be like Japanese, and I was like, did they maybe not know?
I mean, because
like,
compare that guy to Pipeline, whose real name I can't remember. I mean, they're very different. Like Pipeline has got like that local accent.
Andy Bumatai is the guy that plays Pipeline, which I should have mentioned him as well.
Oh yeah, how could you forget Pipeline?
I'm sorry. Yeah. So you know what's funny is I thought like that was a white guy doing like a Hawaiian local.
I knew even back then
accent.
they wouldn't do that.
But yeah, no, he's actually Hawaiian.
Yeah, he's just annoying. That's all. But
his IMDb bio is fucking nuts. It is super long, clearly written by him. He builds himself as Hawaii's first comedian.
First
stand-up comedian.
And I can tell from his material in this show.
Yeah, he thinks he's quite the comic genius.
I mean, do you have it queued up and ready to go? Should we?
I actually do.
Let's hear it.
It's his bio's really long. We're not going to go over this whole thing.
Just a little bit, snippet.
But I'll say this. He ends it with that throughout all of this, he has retained the qualities of compassion, determination, and honesty that made him a success. It seems that Hawaii's most popular and best loved comic will have all of America laughing with him. Not bad for a local boy from Waiani.
Wow. Well,
I mean, I probably mispronounced that.
Hold on, I got something in my eye.
Yeah, and I also do want to the first couple opening lines.
Sure.
Too. There is only one Hawaiian, Filipino, French, German comedian in the entire world, and he is Hawaii's first stand-up comic, Andy Bumatai. I'm sure I mispronounced that too. A naturally funny and versatile performer. Then he goes on and on about how great he is and how there's never been a comic force in Hawaii quite like him.
Wow, so he's
capable of being spontaneously funny anywhere, anytime, according to him.
So he's part Filipino too. Wow, he makes my son look not diverse in the slightest.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to the show. I mean, we could read more about Andy Bumatai later if you want.
I'm closing these bios.
I'm going to start a fan club or join it. Apparently, I'm sure he runs his own fan club.
You'd be joining it with the rest of Hawaii,
right? And the rest of America, apparently. All right, so a woman who was later revealed to be Lisa Luna knocks on a door. She asks if her. Actually, she just goes, "Darlis, are you in there?" And I thought Darlis was a pretty interesting name, and that it's later revealed to be her sister. She then gets in a Jeep, and the aforementioned thug Talbot grabs her, like he was basically waiting in the back seat, and then he asks her where Darlis is. She honks the horn of the Jeep, signaling a nearby cop, and they frighten Talbot away and pursue him.
These are the two greatest street cops ever.
Oh, I was getting to that. I mean, they have to be, I don't know, maybe real cops because their acting is so bad.
No, they're trained by Richard Grieco.
I mean, I'd say he's a little bit better than them.
No, he is.
But they pursue him on foot and he gets away. And I liked the music during that chase scene. I mean, it wasn't the best, but I thought it was pretty good.
It's certainly better than the theme song. But Steve, all she does is like honk like twice, yells help, and this cop car is like driving by.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they had their windows down, but somehow they hear her.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody honking, it could mean anything. It could be anything.
See,
but they figure like she needs help. They come around, they whip around, and they immediately just take off chasing after the other guy on foot. And the other guy comes up to her car. It's like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah, it was a little convenient, but see, this is what you don't understand about Hawaii, Yahel. Nobody honks their horn unless it's absolutely like a life or death situation.
Oh,
So,
I see. Yeah, well, I guess I'm an idiot,
yeah.
Steve.
So, and the thing that I love how the cops are so diligent here, but as you're about to see, I guess the cops in Hawaii they don't have a F to give.
Yeah, the detectives apparently don't care.
Right. So Lisa tells the cops that she already reported her missing sister to the police, but they said, oh, she's just a junkie. But Lisa goes, she's not a junkie. She just fell in like with the wrong guy. And then the cop replies in the most poorly way possible, I'm just a patrolman, and leaves.
You'll have to talk to a detective.
Yeah. Oh man, like if the acting would have been that bad across the board, then this probably would have been a much more entertaining episode. But anyway, so now we're inside a limo. Richard Grieco / Richard Zamora changes his shirt. This is one of many clothes-changing scenes that we are treated to throughout the episode of both Richard and Lisa Luna, as you'll see moving forward. You got to give the ladies and the men what they want.
Yeah.
So Richard says he's leaving first thing in the morning, and Notch says he needs to talk to Richard about something else later on. Any thoughts about that scene? I mean, how aroused were you during the first of many shirt-changing scenes?
Yeah, it was very weird too because Richard Grieco tells the guy, what's his name again, Taki Mach, Domi Mach. Mm-hmm. He tells him, "It's okay, I trust you," as he's changing.
Right.
Which is like, what's he gonna do? Like snap a picture and post it on Instagram?
Not in the 90s, buddy. I mean, maybe MySpace.
Yeah, maybe AOL. AOL keyword Richard's chest. I don't know, like.
And it's like, oh, I trust you. Not like the other guys my dad
not like
had
those
around.
not like those guys that have been stalking me, the Greek freaks as I call them.
You mean that gang that I encountered back in high school?
Grieco's Freakos. That's the name of his.
That's good. So good.
His fan club.
Yeah. So cut to Lisa once again looking for her sister. She at her house, I guess. She opens a drawer. Oh no, Lisa's at her house. She finds the marker in a cabinet, and that is how. I mean, you already described the marker pretty well as like as a slammer or a pog, basically. Mm-hmm. Could you paint an even more detailed picture for the listeners?
Yeah. So the marker, it's kind of like this circular glass thing. It's got kind of like a I don't know, like little
rose
etched. Yeah, it's got like an etched rose in the middle of it, and then a number. And the first marker that we see is marker number 285. Yeah. Jesus Christ!
They expected this show to go on for a long time.
How many favors did his dad do that he because the whole premise is his dad gave these out when he couldn't return a favor or somebody did something for him, he couldn't pay them back in some way immediately or whatever. Right. It's like an IOU.
Sure.
But his dad was already it was like a billionaire.
Right. He should have
a billionaire.
Just thrown a bunch of money at him and called it a day. That's you sort of have to go with the premise.
Right.
But yeah, I have a sort of a theory that the marker count is almost like the Goldberg winning streak count. You know how every week it would just get bigger and bigger,
right?
despite only having a few matches. But yeah, so
he just wanted people to find his ledger and have him think that he was a great guy.
Yeah, would have really only threw out a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we are outside in the day for a good old fashioned funeral. And I don't think I have her name here. Oh, her name is Kimba, who is Gates McFadden, meets Notch, and as Richard looks on, Kimba tells Rich that she feels. As they're looking at the casket, Kimba, I guess, tries to confide in Rich and tells him that she feels empty, and asks Rich if he. And he doesn't react at all. And she asks him if he feels anything, and he says, "I'm out of here," but not as excited as the way I just delivered it.
Right.
So now we're back with Lisa Luna, or actually she shows up and gives Rich the marker and asks for help. and he's all like, what kind of friend were you really to my father? Implying that she's gets around. She doesn't take too kindly to that and just gets angry and leaves. Now we're at a really nice office with, once again, with Kimba and Notch and Rich. And Notch reads the will of Rich's dad. Basically, he leaves everything to Kimba, who is basically she's the second wife.
Well, I don't think he was ever married to Grieco's mom. Because Doctor, I'm by the way, as far as I'm concerned, Marker is actually a TNG episode centered on Beverly Crusher. She's trapped in 1995.
It all takes place in the holodeck, right?
Yeah. Even better. It's just an elaborate holodeck fantasy of hers where she gets to be a real bitchy stepmom.
I liked seeing her as a bitch. It was fun.
Yeah, no, she's a great actress, and she didn't always get a lot to do in
Star Trek
Next Gen, so it's good to see her getting to play something different here. But what was the question? Sorry.
I was basically saying, the question was like that Kimba wasn't was Rich's dad's second wife or something along those lines.
Yeah, because at one point Dr. Crusher says that she something about how his dad and his mom had a one night tryst or something.
Right.
So it sounds like it was just like a one night stand.
How low can a gigolo go? All right, gotcha. So yeah, basically, Rich's dad was a playa, much like one could assume Richard Grieco probably is. He's probably hanging out with Kevin Sorbo, going to church together or something. So now
I gotta seduce him young, and the church is a great place to do it. I've heard. I don't know.
So basically, in this scene, we discover that Rich's dad left him some property, despite leaving everything else to Dr. Crusher, if you want to call her that.
Yes.
So now we are in the limo again. Kimbo and Rich enter a very opulent mansion. Basically, I guess we're seeing the property that was left here. First, Kimba says that this was hers, the mansion. And then she offers to buy Rich's property from him, which we still haven't seen it yet. Then Rich has a flashback to fishing with Dad, and that Super 8, the fake Super 8 millimeter is so creepy. The black and white. It's very stag film or what are they called? I think that's what they're called. But so he's fishing with Dad again, and there's sad piano music playing, which reminded me of when. The Pretender used to gaze, at the kids or whatever, and the kids would remember something. Also see that episode as well. It's great. I wrote that's totally cheesy, but whatever. It was the mid '90s. Rich walks into what looks like a Swiss Family Robinson style shack on the beach, and as a surfer, who is later revealed to be Pipeline, looks on, and the guy just sort of monologues to no one in the sort of local Hawaiian surfer slang that what does he say? Why somebody go into my shack or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's I know a few people that are natives from Hawaii, and they don't. He's really playing it up.
Oh, I'm sure.
At least based on the people I've met, I'm like, I don't know.
Right. So now we are back with Rich has a drink with Notch, and Rich asks Notch how much the property is worth. Because at this point, Rich still is, he's just ready to get on with his life. He wants to go back to Jersey and be a carpenter. Notch says he shouldn't sell and tells him how the markers work. He's saying this is his dad's way of trying to reach out from beyond the grave to touch Richard, and then I put here that in this particular scene there's very little emotion from one Richard Grieco. And Notch says he's authorized to pay Rich $800 a month and tries
a week.
A week, and tries to talk him into taking up the markers. By
the way, $800 a week. I know it's 1995, but his dad's a multimillionaire. I mean, that's not like, I don't know. I would expect a ton of, especially since, these situations that the markers, the people that need help, these are like extreme situations.
Right. It's going to require a lot of money and time on
resources. Like so weird. Right. That's like $800 a week for my son that I really want to reconnect with him.
Right.
And,
well, he gets a free house out of it. That's something, even though.
And he gets a shack, Steve.
Right. But it's
with no, we find out later, there's no indoor plumbing.
Right. Well, it's supposed to, I don't know, put him in touch with like the local Hawaiian color and the what is it they always talk about, the elder spirits of Hawaii, I guess. Like, why couldn't he get like I guess we see why he or what happens at the end with the whole shack ordeal. So and we'll talk about it then. But Rich then so basically it's sort of left on a cliffhanger there. Rich still hasn't agreed or completely turned down the whole marker situation. He then enters the surf shack, let's just call it that, and he trips over the aforementioned Pipeline, who's just, I guess, sleeping on the ground, and he takes a swing at him, and Rich just throws him out of the house, which is pretty fun. Yeah. Now we're back with Kimba. Rich approaches her as she is painting, like, I don't know, some sort of naked man or something. She once again asks if Rich is going to sell the property. Rich asks for $1 million, which in the previous scene, which I forgot to mention, that's what Mooch said it was worth. Yep. They have a sort of little back and forth, a little witty repartee. And Kimba says that she'll talk to Mooch, but then Rich asks to borrow a car, which, in her bitchy way, told him to go rent one, but he ends up giving him he then threatens to just sell it to someone else, the property, and then she changes her tune. I wish I had property to like threaten people into doing things for me. It's like I'm gonna sell that thing unless you make me a drink right now.
Yeah.
So any comment on that scene?
Not really. It's weird that I guess maybe it's not weird that the car she gives him is a Jeep. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense for the island, right?
I mean,
to have something
also, I mean, are you getting a sense of kind of like what Marker is kind of a derivative of at this point?
No.
Oh, bro, this is I don't want to say the term low rent. I would say it's 2 shows to possibly 3. You want to take a guess, or you want me to just tell you?
You just tell me, because I have
Number 1, first and foremost, it's Magnum PI, but it's also trying to get in on the whole sort of Baywatch / Thunder in Paradise, beach bodies kind of thing going on.
Yeah, so I can kind of see that, because actually when the theme song first started, I thought it was going to be like a rip-off Thunder in Paradise / Baywatchy kind of song, but then it turns into a lullaby.
Yeah, but but you definitely get the but you definitely get the Magnum PI vibe, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I can definitely see that, and
and sadly, Tom Selleck is a little bit better actor than old Richard Grieco.
Yeah. Richard Grieco, Tom Selleck had the mustache. Richard Grieco has those finely manicured eyebrows.
Oh, I thought you were going to say those cheekbones.
Oh, I honestly, it's hard for me to see past his eyebrows.
And he always had that spiky hair going on in the 90s for a long time.
Yeah. Well, he grew it out later on. I think it was after this, but he grew it kind of long. I think he was like, "What's Johnny Depp's hair doing? He seems to be doing well. Let me do that." Right. He's a hair-based actor, Richard Grieco.
Well, hey, at least he's still working one way or the other. So
yeah, good for him.
Yeah. So then Rich talks to Pipeline and back at the shack or on the beach, and it appears that they're sort of friends. Pipeline talks about the dead ancestors, and this is how he sort of justifies him staying in the shack, that somehow it's his dead ancestors' property, which I think I mean, this sounds like something that probably is like a kind of a hot button topic in Hawaii, since they were all invaded and everything. But I don't know. I guess it was good of them to sort of work it into the script, although I don't really know how effective it was since it was delivered in the most annoying way possible.
Yeah, and it was delivered in a way that it makes the oh my goodness, was it Pipeline kind of look like an asshole?
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's crazy for thinking this.
There's that, and he's also sort of like the typical sleazy local.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
it's not the best representation. Yeah,
right,
yeah, for
right.
sure. So yeah, this is where Rich says that he was actually technically born in Hawaii, and then Rich asks Pipeline about Lisa Luna. And this is where they say that she's like a champion surfer, and everybody knows her. And for some reason, she's blind in her left eye. That never really plays into the script in any way. They just want us to know, because I guess they refer to her as Lisa Left Eye sometime. Which, I mean, shouldn't she just go join TLC at that point?
I thought that was weird too, because TLC was, I think, already a thing, right? In 1995.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of is they wanted to add some sort of pulpy elements into it. She can't, I mean, Lisa Luna already is a cool sort of comic book sounding name. I mean, why does she also have to be Lisa Left Eye Luna? That's
right. It was definitely because it's an L thing.
Right.
An L word.
I think Steve Cannell or whatever was trying to be a little too clever.
It was such a weird explanation too, as to why she has the marker and why her name is Left Eye or whatever her nickname. Because,
wait, no, it does play because she lost her sight in her left eye while she was saving Rich's dad. Duh.
No, not his dad. His dad's friend.
Oh, right. Man, so convoluted.
It's a convoluted story where they're I remember that she says that Richard's dad's friend calls her a yellow bitch.
Right.
And then later, no context really given as to why. I mean, not that that's going to be excusable in any scenario.
Right.
But we don't know what was happening. But then later on, I guess the same day, I know this is a later scene, we're kind of getting ahead, but Richard, who we never find out his name, I don't think, but Richard's dad's friend, the racist, is surfing.
David Duke.
Yeah, David Duke. David Duke crashes into a rock or something, and he's gonna drown. Lisa sees him. She goes and saves him, keeps his head above water,
right?
Until
she gets smashed up against the rocks.
She's the one that gets smashed up against the rock. Yeah, he's drowning, and then somehow, I guess the rescue people got there just as that happened, and they rescued both of them. But yeah, I guess her dad's "Oh, I owe you for saving my racist friend." Why couldn't it have just been the
dad? My mind made it to where it was him. Yeah.
Well, the reason why they did it is because it's for a couple reasons. Because Richard's dad was making a deal with this racist guy, but once he finds out that he said that racist thing, Richard's dad, even though it was going to be a huge deal and very profitable for him, out of principle, he calls off the deal because he's "Oh, I didn't know you were racist. I'm not going to work with a racist." And he pays all of Lisa's bills.
Right, because they're trying to show what a great guy Richard's dad is, even though he thinks that he's trash since he was never around. Yes. All right. Well, how dare I?
However, he says that he's never around, but he also talks about how Richard's dad used to visit him in New Jersey.
Yeah, take him to baseball games.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like your, typical divorced dad scenario, until the markers
he lives in
come
Hawaii,
into
so
play.
he's not going to come all the time.
Right.
I'm sure because of how rich he was probably paying quite a bit in child support, too.
So what you're saying, Yahel, is that Richard is just your typical bitter Gen Xer.
Yeah. He's mad that his dad wasn't around. I mean, I guess his dad probably could have been around more.
Right.
He could probably afford to fly.
Hey, you gotta let
New Jersey,
you gotta let a player play, baby.
I would have loved to have had a rich dad that lived halfway across the globe that I barely had to see.
So
that would have been great.
You could take the money and go to the castle every single night.
Exactly. I'll buy my own castle. For those that don't know, the castle is a goth club in Tampa, Florida.
It's Yahel's hunting ground
that I have frequented many times.
All right, moving on here. All right, we see Lisa surf on some waves, And I thought we were going to get some Surf Nazis Must Die style surf, footage here. And they had a little bit. I feel like they wanted to do more, but just didn't have time or...
Yeah, because Nia can surf.
Yeah.
It's really her doing the surfing, and she's pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, she was really good in this role, actually. I wonder if she comes back in any of the other episodes or if this was just a one and done for her. But
I'll find that out for you.
Yeah, all right. So Rich and Lisa walk and talk on the beach. And then we get our second, or it's transitioning into our second clothes-changing dialogue scene. First, Lisa showers off. Then Rich offers his help to Lisa. I mean, again, he's not fazed by any showering or anything like that because he's Richard Grieco, Mr. Smooth. Lisa tells Rich about her sister and how she was attacked. Lisa then tells Rich that she, basically everything Yahel just told you about saving his dad's racist friend, David Duke, and then ending up getting smashed up against the rocks, blah, 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 and that's how she got the marker. Then she gives Rich a picture of her sister, and he's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And this has got to be, I mean, as a carpenter, I mean, I guess I understand, like, maybe how he would feel, obligated. And again, this is a job, but he doesn't have any, like, PI or security skills or anything like that. I mean, I guess and they sort of play off that he's just a regular guy trying to figure it out. But I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, what anyone else would do in that situation. It's like, oh, you want me to follow weirdos around and try to find...
And I do have... I'm sorry, Steve, I cut you off,
okay.
But... I have one problem with the premise. I know earlier I said I think this is a great premise for a show, and I do think it's a great premise. However, the execution is a little weird.
Sure.
So why not be like, hey, in the will, why didn't Richard's dad say, hey, you can have... Because they have a strange relationship, right? They talk about it nonstop, so there's no reason for his dad to think that his son, Richard Grieco, is going to take up these markers.
Right.
So why not be like, hey, you can have $2 million, but for you to have it, you have to... take up these marker quests whenever somebody approaches you with one. So it's very weird because, like, go ahead. Sorry, I can see you're chomping at the bit to chime in.
That way makes more sense, but they want Rich to be doing it for the good of doing it and not for money, which I'd say is a very sort of 80s noble sort of action hero kind of quality that they would have in these types of shows. No, I do agree that that's what they were going for. So Rich then breaks into Darlis's apartment, and like, why couldn't what's her name do this herself? I mean, I guess the idea is that maybe that Talbot guy could possibly be waiting for her, like last time, because he is indeed in there waiting with a gun, and ends up pistol whipping Rich for the first time. What did you think about their interaction?
I mean, it was like Richard Grieco starts making excuses as to why he's there. I guess he's like saying he's there for some construction related thing or something.
See, I like that because at least it plays off his, like, his old role as a carpenter.
Exactly.
So it makes
I like
sense.
that.
Yeah.
And by the way, do you think it's a coincidence that they made him a carpenter like Jesus?
So what you're saying is Richard Demore is a Christ-like character who's he's being reborn as the marker. Wow, whoa, You're blowing my mind here. I love it.
And by the way, earlier you were wondering if Nia Peebles' character of Lena Lu comes back. She's only in one other episode.
Okay.
And the episode is called Snowballs. Well, what is it? I got to read this to you. Snowballs in Hawaii. And the description, it makes me wish we had watched this episode instead.
Oh, boy.
Richard is tasked to find a bickering couple's schnauzer. However, someone is killing people to get at this dog as well.
Oh, wow. Hey, we can always revisit it, man. Just make sure we'll have to add it to the list for sure.
Like, why are you using your marker, which you can use to get any favor to find your dog? I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a great reason. Maybe the dog ate a diamond or something. I don't know. But yeah. Anyways.
So now Rich comes to, and he's tied to a palm tree. Talbot, basically, he's like, unhinged. He calls Darlis a slut. He asks Rich where Darlis is. That's all he cares about is where Darlis is.
Yeah.
Rich uses his cunning to talk Talbot away. Then some nearby bikini girls untie Rich, and we can only assume that they had a three-way right there on the beach.
The funny thing is, like, he calls them. They're like walking down the beach. He calls them over, and they're like, "Can you guys untie me?" And they're not like appalled or concerned. Hey, there's this guy that's been tied up. He's bleeding from the side of his head.
They think he's cute.
Yeah. And all they do is giggle towards they look at each other and they giggle, the two girls, and then I guess off camera they untie him and have sex with them. We have to assume, but yeah. And by the way, it's funny. Richard Grieco and this guy that plays Talbot, they actually have the most chemistry out of anybody on the show. Like, there's a little scene where they're having their back and forth, and like he's like Talbot asked Richard, "Do you think I'm crazy?" She thinks I'm crazy, and he's like, "No." Like the way he says, like, "No, stress maybe."
Yeah,
like, it's actually kind of funny.
when he has to play, sort of like sarcastic, I don't know, kind of anti-hero, he can do that. It's when he has to play a regular dude, he's not very good at.
I suspect that Richard Grieco is a bit of like an aloof, hammy kind of guy in real life.
Probably.
And like because he seems to do that pretty naturally. So
aloof, hammy. We wouldn't know anything about that here on Obscurity.
No, we would
Now.
not. No, we would not.
So this is like the weirdest sort of like transition and a way to start a scene that doesn't really make any sense. I guess they felt like they needed more comedy or something. So we cut to the next scene. And you see this like pink, someone's swimming in the beach, and they're wearing like a pink, what are they called? Skull cap, like swimming cap,
yeah, it's like a skull
cap
that like professional swimmers put their hair under to make them more.
And this one has like a flower in it, and it's rich. And he swims up like the beach, and Lisa Luna is there. And she's like, "Nice hat." And he's like, "I have to wear it because my head was bleeding."
He's like, "I got 8 stitches, so the doctor told me I couldn't get them wet." They're still gonna get wet, buddy.
Like there were no other like swimmer's caps, like a black one or one that wasn't pink.
I've got a theory as to why he's actually really wearing the skull cap, Steve.
Do tell.
They wanted him in the water, show him shirtless, right?
Sure,
going for that whole Baywatch thing. However, Richard Grieco appears to be like losing his hair or it's thinning or something.
Yeah.
And I think, it was probably going to look worse or like more like obvious that his hairline is like thinning or whatever if he got it wet. So I think either they or Richard himself was like, well, I don't want my hair to be wet.
Right. All right. It's kind of like how what's his name always wears a hat now. The guy who was in Better Off Dead. Gosh, I'm so bad with names.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I'll think of it later.
But, I don't know. I could be wrong on that because, I mean, even now in recent pictures or certainly later pictures after the show, like, he still has hair. Maybe he just has, like, a weird hairline. So I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe he got a replacement.
The receding hairline. That's what it is. So, wow.
But you know what's crazy? Like, that's even his hairline now. So maybe that's just his hairline.
Right. It's the Grieco hairline.
So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
But anyways. Interesting theory nonetheless. So now, once again, we get another clothes changing scene, and Richard is the one changing in front of Lisa. He says he canceled his trip so he could stay and help her. Lisa tries to convince Rich that his dad was a nice person. Basically, they have another conversation about Rich's dad, and he still thinks he's a sleazebag. Then Pipeline shows up. He brings this massive, like a thug guy, to kick Rich out of his own house. The name of the thug is Deadlift, if anyone was just a really fun sort of pulpy name.
Yeah.
He pushes Rich down and he hits his head again. It's pretty messed up since he just had stitches and everything.
Yep.
Then Lisa tells
Richard Grieco has had his character gets like 3 concussions basically throughout this episode.
Right. Yeah. Lisa tells Rich more stuff about spirit elders. And all that stuff does play into the theme of Marker and in this pilot.
Sure.
So Rich and Lisa then drive in the Jeep while being followed. Did I not write down, or is it later, where Rich realizes that Pipeline not stole the tires off the Jeep and replaced them with cheaper ones?
Oh, isn't that later?
Yeah, I guess it is. But it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Lisa asks why Rich and his father didn't get along. He says he hated that his father only stopped by occasionally to take him to freaking baseball games. I mean, he should be grateful for that.
The funny thing is, like, here's like this scene is a great example of Richard Grieco. And I gotta be honest, I haven't seen a lot of Richard Grieco's work, so I mean, I don't know. He may be like, maybe he had like an off show or something, but he like doesn't seem to know what part of the sentence he should be sure that he was excited about, because when he says that his dad picked him up with a limousine, he says the limo part like it was nothing, right? like he got picked up in an 85 cent Nissan Sentra. But when he says that his dad bought him hot dogs, which you would assume is a much more common occurrence in young Richard Grieco's life, he gets super excited. He's like, oh, my dad would pick me up in a limousine, take me to a baseball game, and we'd get hot dogs. Like,
well, all right, you can say that, in a lot of pilots, people, actors, they haven't really grown into the role yet. But at the same time, I think he's just not that great of an actor. I mean, I've seen him in like some B action movies, and I mean,
he's got a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just as good as he is, I guess. I mean, somebody prove me wrong. Tell me which Richard Grieco like is his breakout role that no one is talking about.
Wasn't he in 20 when he was? Maybe we should cover 21 Jump Street. Actually, I
think it'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna add that to the list. But I want to say I didn't watch it religiously, but I remember watching a few episodes. I want to say his character was kind of a sarcastic, bad boy, aloof kind of character, and I bet he played that well, and it went a long way towards tricking people into thinking he could act.
Well, some people only, don't have range. That's his thing. Like, he just doesn't really have range.
I mean, hey, he's a better actor than me. So, hey, I mean, I've got no room to talk.
Oh, I don't know, man. We're going to get you a vehicle here soon. When we make the Obscurity Now movie, we're going to have you crying on camera.
I would like to play Richard Grieco.
You're going to go full dong, whether you want to. It's 5 changing scenes for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 5.
Well, I have been working out.
Yeah. Congrats. All right. So they go to the swimsuit factory where Darlis worked. A manager type tells Rich that they were going to fire Darlis because her work just wasn't good. And then once again, someone questions Darlis and her drug usage, and that makes Lisa very angry.
Well, Richard.
Yeah, right. It's Richard, and he finds a card for a realtor company, and then they walk outside, and then I think there's.
I thought the episode was going to end right here. I really thought because the whole thing is like we got to find Darlis. We got to find Darlis. And literally, Richard Grieco like finds a card for like a realtor,
right? And
then he's like, "Oh, it's a realtor card." And then the next scene, it's so weird because I guess Richard Grieco called the realtor away, from Lena Lou.
Right. I was gonna say it's a time jump. Like they just show them walking out of the swimsuit factory, so you can assume that maybe he grabbed a phone and called the number on the card.
Right.
But yeah, it is a little weird though.
Yeah. I mean, and I get having Lena, was that her name? I can't even remember.
Lisa
asking him what the realtor said, because for the audience, right? For us to like hear what the realtor said. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
But so Lisa's like, what did the realtor say? And he's like, the realtor said that Darlis rented a house for a month, like in this area or whatever.
Right.
Like, what kind of realtor is just giving out this information?
I know.
Again, as we've established, he's just a carpenter. He's not a private investigator.
Right,
he's
right.
not
Well,
a police officer.
He can be very charming. Maybe he just charmed the pants off this realtor.
Yeah. I guess so. But a little troubling.
Right. The funny thing is that if you were to do Marker now in like 2022, it's like the answer to all these problems is the internet. Like you wouldn't even have to leave a room. Yeah, so Lisa and Rich flirt a bit. Then they go to Darlis's place, and she's just there, sitting on the beach, relaxing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like someone who's not afraid that there's a stalker after her.
Right, yeah. It wasn't a very good introduction to a character that we've been talking about the whole time. And yeah, like she didn't care. Like it's more important for Darlis to work on her tan than to fear for her life. But hey, maybe that's the kind of girl she is.
And like I'm sure this beach house that she's renting has like a phone. Why didn't they just ask for the phone number from the realtor?
I know. But
because by finding her,
right,
they put her in danger, as I think you're about to.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get another clothes changing scene. This time, Darlis is the one putting clothes on. And I wrote, everyone is constantly getting dressed in this show. And then they're going to get in the car. And then Talbot shows up with a gun and forces the sisters into the trunk. And then again, they kind of make fun of it. Rich goes, "What are you going to do? Like, pistol whip me again?" And that's exactly what happens. I don't know. It could be seen as funny. It could also be seen as lazy writing. That's up to the viewer to decide.
This whole scene is so weird. From the moment that like they arrive at Darlis's house to the moment that they Talbot kidnaps Lisa and Darlis. Richard Grieco and Lisa show up, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, Darlis doesn't seem to give a fuck one way or the other.
Right.
But I guess they're like, we got to get out of here. Why? Why do they have to get out? Well, why did they need to
Right,
get
why couldn't
away?
they just stay there?
Yeah, you couldn't even find her.
Right.
If it wasn't for this like realtor that doesn't give a shit about like everyone's privacy, she would have been fined there for at least 30 days. But whatever, they're going to leave. Talbot shows up, and nobody seems that scared that he's there.
Right, or the fact that he has a gun.
Yeah, like the women aren't bothered. Richard doesn't seem to like.
Yeah,
bothered.
He should be. Worried. Everyone should be worried.
This guy's got a gun, and they keep talking about how he hangs out with killers, how he's unhinged.
But see, Yahel, this is what you just don't understand. Everyone's just so laid back in Hawaii that a man with a gun just isn't even a concern. They're just like, oh, whatever, brother. I'm just gonna go.
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm just going to go surfing. Like, you do what you need to do with your gun.
And when Talbot... I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. Sorry.
I'm done.
Well, when Talbot tells these women to get... The girls to get in the trunk of his, like, 1975 whatever, he tells one of them to watch their head. And I think it was probably supposed to be sarcastic.
Right. Well, also, I don't know. He doesn't want to kill Darlis. He's obsessed with her. He thinks that she's, sleeping around, and he wants to, he basically wants to put her in a gilded cage so nobody else can have her.
Right.
But then...
He doesn't want to kill anybody because he tells Richard to turn around, and all he does is pop him on the back of the head.
Yeah, it's your sort of classic 80s, 90s, I'm a threat, but I'm not a threat bad guy.
Yeah. They go out of their way to not shoot anyone on this show. Right,
for sure. And... But we're going to get to some action here in a little bit.
Sure.
Boy, is it poorly choreographed. Where were we? So Rich chases after him in the Jeep. Rich realizes that that's when he, in case you didn't realize, he's like driving the Jeep and he's like, "Stupid! I let him right to him!" He's like monologuing to the camera.
Yeah, he finally realizes that he led Talbot to Darlis.
And this is where Rich gets a flat. I mean, I don't know why he couldn't just get a flat. Like, again, I think Canal here was just being a little too clever, and he's just like, stupid pipeline, stole my regular tires and put on some lame ones or bad tires.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't make so sense. So Richard gets a flat tire. He gets out of the car. He looks at the tire, and he goes, "These aren't my tires. How do you know? This isn't your Jeep either, bro."
Right. And then he gets even angrier when he realized that he stole the CD player or radio and swapped out an inferior one. It's like, yeah, it's not your Jeep. If anything, he should be the line he should be saying is, "Ha, oh boy, Kimba sure is gonna like this Jeep when she gets it back, or something like that. It's like that'll show Kimba. And
why does Kimba even have a Jeep? She doesn't look like she'd be the type to.
I mean, I would say it belongs to the maintenance people that work on her mansion.
Yeah. But like I guess we're to believe, Steve, that Richard went out to the Jeep, and the first thing he did was inspect the tires to see what kind of brand tires they were and the condition of the tread.
And why would Pipeline put on new tires, even if they're inferior? You just take the tires, sell them, and be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
So Pipeline just happened to have a set of tires that would fit this Jeep perfectly and fit it in such a way, because I could understand if like the radius was like way smaller or something, and he was like, oh, these aren't my tires, but you would have been able to tell that when your Jeep was like 5 inches closer to the ground or something,
right?
So I don't know, like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, and the thing is, like, if the show was a little bit more charming, you could like write it off or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But it's just like, what?
Yeah, it's not over the top enough, it's not dramatic enough, it's just sort of there. Which that pretty much describes everything, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So Rich goes to Kimba's and asks for help, but Kimba's like, what do I care about some junkie? Because she's such a bitch, such a cold-hearted bitch. But, I mean, this does sort of complete Richard's arc, even though you say he doesn't really go on much of a hero's journey. He does have one where he says that he sells his property to Kimba to get her to help Lisa. I mean, it's
like he wants like a helicopter.
Right. I mean, it's a long walk around the block, but it kind of works.
Because Kimba wants it for $500,000. Right. He wants to sell it for $1 million. He says, "Fine, I'll sell it for $500,000 if you let me use a helicopter."
Right. I mean, a woman's
life. You can
life...
rent a helicopter for like $10,000.
And a woman's life is at stake here. I mean, Kimba must be. I mean, she just doesn't care about anyone.
I guess I guess the thing is, like, Kimba would have probably given him the helicopter anyways, because then she says, kind of with a smile, "Oh, we're negotiating, but you are wasting precious time."
Right, exactly. Yeah, so she saw a crisis and used it for an opportunity, basically,
like a millionaire would. But but I will say, we have learned at this point that Kimba was helping her Richard's dad a lot.
Right.
When he was sick in that last year, so we do learn that there's some redeeming qualities to her, and that she at least legitimately loved and cared for Richard's dad. Sure. Which comes up later.
Right. So Rich recruits Pipeline and his massive thugs, like the Samoan SWAT team, basically.
Yeah, this was like kind of like I wasn't crazy about making all of them kind of like dumb lunkheads.
Right. It should have been like a mix of guys. You have a couple of like bruisers, then you have like the cut guy, and then the knife guy, and but
they're all kind of played as like, I don't want to say like savages, but kind of borderline. It's kind of like felt a little racist.
Oh, for sure. They're basically the wild Samoans from the WWF.
And hey, I have no problem with like you have one or two of them, because dude, I mean, who in their group of friends doesn't have one or two morons, in there? Sure. So that's totally like fine or whatever. But you already kind of made like the head of them, Pipeline, kind of like the sleazy guy,
Right.
And I guess he's the brains of the operation here, but
right. I got
so Pipeline says basically like, we'll help you out if you let me stay here. You give me this land.
Yep. So arc complete. Richard gives up everything to help Lisa and her sister.
But in the end, he gives up nothing.
Right. We'll get there. Okay. Everything gets undercut later. Don't you worry. This is TV we're talking about here.
Yeah, in the 90s especially.
Yeah. Notch says Talbot has a rap sheet and tells him he lives on the other side of the island. Rich and his, I put sumos, I mean, they basically are. Somehow they all manage to get in the helicopter, and this is one strong
big boys.
Yeah, and they all get in there and cruise on over to Talbot's. They land, and they basically, converge on this bad guy's compound. They just beat up all the guys in there in some.
And when they land, Steve, the head bad guy says, by the way, the head bad guy's mad at Talbot because he kidnapped Lisa, who's a world famous surfer. He's like, why'd you do that? Like, you idiot, that's going to bring a bunch of attention. He's like, well, she was there. So, she was in the way. I had to bring her. Right. So Talbot's a moron.
Yeah.
If anybody should be dating in this show, it should be Richard and Talbot. Like, They have got chemistry.
Yeah.
Richard isn't that much smarter than him.
Yeah.
But anyways, the head of the bad guys says he doesn't find it weird that a helicopter landed on his lawn. He just says, "Oh, go see what that guy wants."
See,
it's not a Jehovah's Witness coming to bring you the watchtower.
Right. Again, this is a very Magnum PI thing. They always had helicopters in Magnum PI for some reason. So,
because to get to another point on the island, it can be difficult to drive there.
Sure. So I mean, maybe it is. Maybe everyone's got helicopters in Hawaii. I don't know.
And I don't know if Richard's property is on the mainland or not.
Sure.
But at least they were on the same island. It sounded like. Yeah. As the bad guy. Anyway, so they go there.
So there's this big fight scene between the good thugs and the bad thugs. Rich fights Talbot. Pipeline, and I have to admit, this was kind of funny. I mean, I didn't actually chuckle, but I'm that's moderately funny. Yeah. Pipeline walks into the fray and goes straight to the fridge and grabs the beer.
And he's so casual about it. He's ooh, looking through the fridge while there's all this fighting going on around
Very
him.
cartoony, but I liked it.
It kind of worked. Yeah. I thought it was good. It was good.
And then again, there's a awkwardness where so Rich is on the ground having just been sort of punched or whatever, or been in a fight. And then Lisa, who's now saved, and her sister sort of comes down and comforts them.
Now, Steve, can we talk about? I'm sorry to cut you off yet again. I've cut you off more time than people have taken their clothes off and on in this episode. But
please.
This fight with Richard and Talbot.
Oh, it's awful. The whole the choreography all around is bad.
Yeah, Richard comes in. He has a one-liner where he's like, "Oh, let's see how good you are when," and it was clearly dubbed over the line. Let's see how good you are. He says it so quick. Mm-hmm. Let's see how good you are without my hands tied behind me.
Right.
Okay, so Richard punches him. Then Richard kind of punches Talbot. Talbot lands on the bed. Mm-hmm. Lisa's there on the bed, too. She's not tied up or anything, so she could be helping, but she's not going to do that. Then Richard kind of jumps on Talbot, but then doesn't do anything because Talbot is, slow to punch Richard here. Mm-hmm. And then Richard even kind of backs up to give Talbot the room to throw the punch. Richard gets punched. He goes down, and Talbot grabs Lisa. He's like, "Let's get out of here." And then as soon as Talbot leaves the room, one of the big, Hawaiian thugs that Richard hired shows up. He's like, "Where are you going?" He's the one that knocks out Talbot finally.
Yeah, it was very kind of a lackluster ending. I mean, Rich should have been the one to get the upper hand in the end. I don't know. I guess they wanted to give the win to the local boys.
I think they wanted to have a little bit of comedy. Mm-hmm. They wanted to show that Richard realized. I kind of get what they were going for.
Well, because as I said, I mean, this director, he's most known for comedies.
Lisa comes to comfort Richard, and Richard's like, "Hey, I don't normally go down that quickly in a fight." Right. He's like, "But hey, I guess I shouldn't really." And Richard says something to the effect of, "I guess I shouldn't really be doing this. I'm not a PI or whatever."
She says it.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm just a carpenter," and she's like, "Yeah, you're right. You're not."
So they make fun of their own premise, which I think is perfectly okay.
I agree. It's fine, and it's good because it shows that Richard isn't some badass, which it makes the fact that he's going to take up these marker cases even more heroic, right?
So, but they should have played that up more. He should have been more sarcastic, I would say. We needed less of Pipeline and more of Richard to be the comedic anti-hero that would eventually, learn to care about others.
What's missing is a scene or two where characters not named Richard are talking about him. And I mean, you could either have Mochi or even Pipeline talking to somebody when Richard's not around because maybe they don't want him to hear, saying something like, "You know what? He's taking this up even though he knows that he doesn't have the skills for it." That says a lot about it. Somebody saying that to his stepmom would have been good, and that kind of makes her kind of rethink the way she looks at him.
Right. I thought there was maybe a little something between Mooch and Kimba where that sort of happened, but again, it wasn't played up enough. As I said before, this is it's not over the top enough. It's not like, subdued enough. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, like it needed to like lean into the campiness.
Yes,
I think a little
it
bit
should have
more
been.
overall.
Yeah, more pulp, like like Briscoe County Jr. does, like basically.
Yeah.
Oh well. So yeah, basically, and then Lisa says that Rich saved them anyway, and they kiss. Then we get basically the wrap-up scene. Once again, Richard's wearing pink. He's wearing a pink shirt for some reason, because before he was wearing that pink thing on his head. Kimba asks Rich to sell the property to basically finish the deal, and he says he can't because he sublet it to Pipeline. He's going to be sticking around, and if any of those markers show up, you just send them my way. That's what he says.
Yep.
And that's basically that. And I guess
there is a scene here too with Richard and Kimba, where he says he's going to stick around or whatever and not sell the property. And she's like, we had a verbal agreement with the verbal contract witnessed by Taki or whatever.
Right.
And way to put him in an awkward position, by the way. But then he says like, well, that's going to look pretty bad if you force your divorced or your dead's husband's son to sell the property.
Right.
She says she doesn't watch TV. He says it would look bad on TV. She says,
that
I don't watch TV.
That was weird.
Real weird. Like there's other ways that people get their news.
It's like she doesn't understand how PR works.
Yeah. Like, he could have, and honestly, like his line could have gone further, right? He could have said, hey, that's going to look bad for you and the company, something to that effect or whatever.
Right.
But he also says, here's where he tells her, and I do like this because it's part of his hero's journey. This is when he tells her, hey, I learned that you really took great care of my dad. And maybe, some of the things I thought about you, I was wrong about. And I apologize.
Yeah.
She doesn't apologize about shit. Right. But he apologized. I have this weird, like Richard Grieco and Gates McFadden play this up like kind of flirty every time they like argue. And I just feel like, I don't know, like honestly, I didn't, when their first scene together where they're like bickering, I didn't realize that was like his stepmom. I thought they were going to end up hooking up. And at the end of this, I'm not so sure that had this continued going on for multiple seasons, that we wouldn't have gotten a hello stepmother Pornhub moment.
Oh no. Oh man. Wow. Well, that would have been progressive for the time.
Progressive?
Regressive?
Forward think.
Something.
Yeah.
It was different. Yeah. It would have been different. So there's one more scene, and man, I swear, I think they were just vamping for time at this point. So basically, we're at the shack, the surf shack. Pipeline says he put the tires and stereo back into Rich's Jeep, which is supposed to symbolize his hero's journey, if you will. Basically, and then Rich threatens Pipeline. He tells him just to never do it again. And then he's telling him he's building a new place for him to live. And they sort of argue about where it should go. And then we end once again with the creepy Super 8mm black and white footage of Rich and his dad at a campfire. Rich says he loved his dad, and now he has to learn to live with that. Which
very, very weird way to he thought he hated his dad. I love him, and I guess now I have to live with it. It's not stage 4 leukemia you were diagnosed with.
Yeah, well said. Anything else before we render our verdicts?
No, but no. Let's just render the verdict.
Okay.
Remember, rated. That's the question.
Yahel, marker number 239, Velazquez. Do you think that marker should be tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again, or to be put in one of those TV history museums so we can all look back fondly on the UPN network and its original launch?
Man, just based off this one episode, I am a little torn as to what to say, because if it, like, kind of you and I were like, we were talking, if it would just be a little bit campier, lean into the comedy a little bit more, there's like some potential here, man. It's a pretty fun cast. I know we talked about Richard's lack of acting, but again, if you leaned into like him being more sarcastic and funny, and especially with the cast you already have, I think it could be something here, but I don't remember how the rest of it goes, and we're just going off this pilot. I'm gonna have to say no. It should be tossed into the bin of obscurity.
Oh man, I'm gonna echo a lot of what you just said there. Like I wanted to like it. I really like the locale and the fact that it's sort of leaned into surfing, which is just stuff that I like to observe and fictionally. I would never surf myself.
Yeah, you never surf, right?
No, and I never will. But and then I wanted Richard Grieco to be better. I just wanted it to be better. It's a fun Magnum PI ripoff, but not fun enough. So right. Yes, it's I can see why there was only one season of this, and I doubt anyone is going to be doing a reboot of Marker anytime soon. So therefore, it is.
The heathens have spoken. You are obliterated.
So one other thing I wanted to point out is, Grieco, Richard, and Lisa are telling each other how they like each other, but I guess for whatever reason, I think because he wasn't going to stick around, even though he does end up sticking around, he says they can't be together. It was actually very hard to understand what he tells her, but that's not the point. The point is that her response is, a guy with morals. I didn't know that there were any of those left. And he replies with, oh, you should come to Jersey. You can stay as long as you want or something like that, like implying that there's like sweet guys in Jersey, which Jersey Shore would have something. But even in the 90s, I don't think like Jersey was known for its great guys.
Stalwart, guys who are caring and loving.
Yeah. By the way, I was looking up reviews of old reviews from the time of Marker. I could only find a couple. They weren't very complimentary, but the funny thing is I found one that talks about The Watcher.
Oh.
And I didn't realize that The Watcher stars Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Whoa.
Of I Like Big Butts fame.
Oh, my God. Wow.
I'm not even done. Listen to this. He plays a jive-talking host to this Las Vegas set anthology series.
Oh, wow.
Tracking all sorts of goings-ons from a high-tech, high-rise control room with monitors hooked up to every nook and cranny in the city.
Wow. Oh, so it's like Tales from the Crypt, basically.
But why is he a gigolo?
Well, I think maybe he's not the gigolo. He's the Watcher.
Oh, the episode is about a gigolo.
Right.
And this is his last. Oh, maybe there's like a murder. Okay, we're gonna have to.
This sounds
watch
awesome.
At some.
All right. Before we go here, I just want to tell everyone that I now have physical copies of my comic book, Escape to Earth.
Yes, I'm excited, man.
So if you backed, your stuff will be in the mail soon, and if you didn't back, I've got a whole bunch of copies that I'd love to sell you. So just contact us at Reptilian Media Twitter. And and let us know what you think about Marker. You can watch the first episode right there on YouTube. I think it's also on. I think I saw it. Yeah,
it's on Tubi
as well. I don't know. I guess all the
version uploaded to YouTube. It's pretty good. It was uploaded by Shout Factory. Shout Factory is a company that they sell like Blu-rays and DVDs of kind of series like this that are forgotten. Stuff. So like they actually have. Yeah. So they actually do have the license for it. So the footage is pretty good. There were a couple times where like the video got a little choppy here and there. The frame rate. So it might be better on Tubi. And Tubi's
when you're watching Marker, you want the pristine cinematic experience.
Yes. Absolutely. Steve, is it true that copies of Escape to Earth can be later redeemed for favors from you at any time in the future?
Sure. Only if it requires like helping someone. Nothing. I don't want to be anyone's last seduction or anything like that. But all right. Join us next week. Are we going to talk about another UPN show, you think?
We might have to talk about this Watcher show. I don't know.
All right,
man.
so tune in next week as we remember another UPN show only on Obscurity Now. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now. a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links, if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.